Hey y'all, it's your girl Millie Chan. So Friday night, Lexi went live as she said she would with chapter 1. And chapter 1 is about her stepmom, Nell. Let's get into it. So Lexi's name is right here if you just need to go follow her and watch this for yourself. But she started off talking about like she knew Nell. I guess Nell entered her life when she was like 3 years old. So she's never known her biological father and her mother to be together. She's always known her mother, her stepmother, and her bio dad, right? She says she's never known anything else. That's how it's always been. She went on to say that she's not bitter towards Nell because she's never known Nell to break up her home because that wasn't the norm to have Chris as her father in the house. So she said, she doesn't hold anything against Nell for that because she's never known that to be a thing. So she went on to say that she's glad that Chris and her mother had got a divorce because she's very happy with the family that she has now because she is not participating in the Chris Fletcher and Nell Fletcher family. So she said she had a really good relationship with Nell up until about the age of 10. She said that it was pleasant. She would go with her sisters. She would go everywhere with Nell. But it started shifting when she was about 10 years old. And she said that that's when they were living in Atlanta and she would go to visit and she didn't have her own room. So her stepbrother, Lance, was sleeping on the couch and she slept in his room. So she says she didn't think anything about it until they adopted Nell's niece, which is Kiki, right? So once Kiki got there, Kiki had her own room. And she, being a kid, being there, staying in her brother's room, she wanted to know why she couldn't have her own room. She said, Nell said, you do have your own room at your mother's house. And of course, that hits different now as an adult than it did as a child, because now you see where it kind of was coming from. But my problem is with Chris. You understand what I'm saying? This is his daughter. And if his daughter doesn't have anywhere to lay her head in his home, that's a problem. She also said that her sister had like a pink room, Barbies, and Nell would not allow Lexi to play with certain toys, right? She just wouldn't let her do them, like if she was gonna harm them or break them or something like that. And Lexi wanted to play with her own toys and bring them to be in her own room. But like she said, she didn't think about it as a child, but now she realized that was wrong. Now, when we talked about this on live, people were saying, why did Lexi's mama let her go to be with Chris? Well, she didn't live with Chris. Her mother lived in Nashville. She was going to stay with her father like in the summer and on holidays. So that's why she was with Chris. But child, she said she could not remember how old she was. But between living in Atlanta and moving to Harvest, Alabama, when she would call Chris, Nell would always have some type of explanation as to why he couldn't come to the phone. He was busy. And you know how it is. If your child can't get through, the mama's going to call. So her mother would call. She couldn't get through. Child, Lexi said that when she was like 18, Nell told her the reason that she couldn't get through and get on the phone with her daddy is because that's when he had left and moved back to Atlanta to be with a woman and her child. So while they living in Atlanta, Kristen found him a side piece, right? So when they moved to Harvest, Alabama, that was just too much for him. Chris said, I can't be without this woman. I got to go, Nell. And left. Child, so I don't know what age Lexi was at this point in time, but she said she had a little resentment for Nell because she couldn't talk to her daddy, right? And then she said all of a sudden one day he called. So Kristen come home, child. The woman done sent Chris home, or either Nell done called and begged him to come home, crying and going on, right? So Kristen come back home and don't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of. So they done had to move in with one of her friends who had a 3-bedroom and 1.5 bathroom home. 4 adults in the house, and the lady got 2 kids. Chris and Nell, part of the 4 adults, with their 3 kids and an occasional Lexi. She said Nell was really quiet during those times. And she said that when she would ask for something, Nell was like, we're not able to get it right now. Right? Because clearly they don't have the money to get it. Because they living with somebody. She said Nell was working down there at the dollar store. And she would wear turtlenecks. And you could see like where it would break her neck out. And she said she just kind of felt sorry for her. Chris ain't worth nothing. Child, so I guess they got a little change, right? They moved out of the house from the friend and they got another house in Harvest. She said at this point, Nell had switched up again and she was really mean. And she would curse Chris out and she talked loud. And it was just, she said she would air Chris out. She said she would curse him out in the restaurant and loudly say how he ain't worth nothing, SHIT, and how he left his family. I get it. I believe it. I believe it. And she said that she would just cry because she really felt bad for Chris, the way she would curse him out. And she would curse everybody out. But Nell was hurt and she was mad. But she said she felt bad for her dad. Child. So she said Nell would get drunk and go off the deep end, child. She said she would talk to her like she was one of her girlfriends and tell her things that you should not be telling a child, right? She said that she would talk about how Chris don't have no money. And Lexi said she didn't want to smoke, so she just sat there and listened. But she said she lost respect for Nell after the way she talked about her dad and how she talked about her siblings. So she said she just didn't want to smoke. Child, then I guess maybe Chris had passed his realtor's license and he was a realtor or something, because she said they got a little bit more money. They was doing a little bit better. They had moved to Madison. They were doing a lot of shopping. And she said when she would come around and she would ask for things, Nell would be like, we pay child support. If you want to do anything when you come up here, you need to ask your mother for child support and bring the money with you. That's crazy. And then she said, can y'all guess when he finished paying child support? She said she's 33. So I can't wait to find out when that is. But she said that was always Nell's answer. And she said that one time she asked for, and I'm skipping over some stuff. She said one time she had asked for a Victoria's Secret outfit, right? Nell was like, we pay child support. But the next year for Christmas, all the kids got cars and they bought her Victoria's Secret. And when she mentioned something about it, she was like, we bought you Victoria's Secret. You asked for it last year. Petty. Child, towards the end, Lexi said she did not deserve to be treated that way. But she understood that Nell wasn't properly loved, right? And she said she couldn't help but think that if Chris had done right by Nell, would Nell have done right by her? That's a very good question. She said, but she was with a man who did not properly love her. She was like, if I put myself in her shoes, and Nell is a woman who wants love from this man and wants him, to be a father to the kids. And here comes this other kid that wants the same thing. And she wants all of those things. And now there's somebody else who wants it. She was like, that's a lot. And then the last thing she said before I go is that the reason she's never cursed Nell out, she said the only time that she cursed her out was when we saw it at that dinner. And she said she only did it because there were witnesses around. She said because she seen Nell tussle, and she said that woman can tussle and she can't. So she said she felt safe enough to curse her out a little bit and get out of the house. Child, go listen to her, honey. It's about like 38 minutes. And we can talk about it in the comments. It's your girl, Millie Chun. I'll talk to you later. Bye.